Lawrence has planned a short series on the city. The title of the series is called For the Good of the City, Living as People in Exile. It's a four-part series. Tonight we're going to look at why cities matter. And then Lawrence will do the final three. He had a Boundary Waters trip planned from January, and that all got canceled, obviously, with the fires, but they still went fishing together up at Randy's cabin. So I've got the first message tonight, why cities matter, and then Lawrence will look at what it means to live as exiles in a world where we're not at home, and then what does it mean to be a city within a city, a church as a city, and then the city to come, looking forward to the eternal kingdom. So let me pray before we get started. It's been a while since I've preached. I'm coming off a couple weeks of travel, and I've got the tail end of a massive head cold that I'm dealing with. So we always need the Lord's work in our life. So Lord Jesus, we are grateful for all of the ways that you have blessed us and taken care of us and prosper us. God, just thinking of Philippians this lately, that you being God did not consider equality with the God something to be grasped, and that you considered us better than yourself. What an amazing and beautiful truth. So God, tonight as we look at the city, what it means to live in a city, why cities are important, God, we pray that you just help me to communicate your word in a clear way, and help us, God, to see the redemptive work that you have done since really the beginning of time to redeem not only humanity, but the cities as well. We pray, God, that you give us ears to hear and eyes to see and hearts to understand. In Jesus' name, amen. So for the good of the city, why cities matter. So Lawrence gave me this topic, and it's been a while since I've preached on this, but I wanted to take a little bit different approach than what I've done in the past. So there's basically two perspectives or two interpretations that people take away on the subject of the city when they read the Bible. The first one is that it's fairly negative, that the city, from a biblical perspective, is the invention of humanity that breeds violence, oppression, greed, and other human vices. And we'll see why people can come away with that interpretation tonight. Another perspective is they see positively that the city is part of God's cultural mandate to humanity. So there is a whole school of thought behind the idea when God gave the instructions to man and woman to multiply over the earth and to rule and to have dominion over the earth and all of its creatures. That is called the cultural mandate, and it's a statement by God to humanity to go and build a world, to build a culture, and cities then are a part of that culture. So it's a positive aspect, a positive thing. And so I'm going to take a little bit different perspective than both of these that I'm going to unfold now for the night. So first of all, what is a city? This is Tim Keller's definition. He's probably been the most, the foremost spokesperson from the standpoint of Christianity over the years in regard to the importance of the city. Here's how he defines a city. Today, popular consensus defines cities as having the highest density of people per square mile, the most diversity of people, and the highest level of mixed land use and walkability. Suburbs are less dense, less diverse, and employ less mixed land use, so the car is often required. Small towns and rural areas are the least dense and the least diverse living areas where people often know each other and are not strangers. They can employ mixed land use to create a walkable town center, but a car is a necessity to get to any other location. So it seems like, according to Tim Keller, that the city does not include suburbs or small towns. I think for our case, if we think about the greater metropolitan area of Minneapolis and St. Paul, which is either 7 counties or 13 counties, whichever definition you're looking at, but we live in a large metropolitan area, and so whether you're kind of in the suburbs or in the city center, or maybe even one of the small rural towns around it, there's an impact that the city has on all of us. So tonight I want to look at 3 cities: the city of Enoch, the city of Babel, and the city of Jerusalem. So I'm going to be referring to some biblical texts about these 3 cities. We're not going to be able to read them all. It would just be too much. Hopefully I'm going to be drawing on passages that are somewhat familiar to you. I'll summarize them a little bit. This first city is Enoch. So the city of Enoch, this is from Genesis chapter 4, is founded by the man Cain. Now, Cain is the first son of Adam and Eve, and he is the murderer of his younger brother Abel. I think a while back I gave a sermon on Cain and Abel. And so Cain, as a consequence of his murderous actions, is exiled from the presence of God, and he moves east of Eden and settles in this land called Nod. Now, Nod literally means it's a land of wanderers. So he settles in a place known for people that wander. So it probably got named because he moved there. But anyway, he's settling in a land of wanderers. Now, Cain was a farmer. That's what he did. He farmed. His brother was a shepherd. So Cain was used to being in a fixed place. And so God, in his curse to Cain, told him that you are going to be a fugitive and a wanderer over the earth. And Cain did not want that. Cain rejected that. So he moves out and he finds a place in this land of Nod, and he builds a city, and he names it Enoch, which is after his son. The name Enoch means discipline or dedication. And so it seems like that in his response to God's curse and in his effort to not be killed, to not be a fugitive, to not be a wanderer, he was going to dedicate himself and discipline himself to this city and raise a family known for its dedication and discipline. He named his son that, and he named the city that. So discipline and security are really what defines Cain and his efforts to build a city and to build a family. So what emerges from this first city in the Bible? It's the first city in the Bible. What emerges from this family in the city? So the 7th generation from Cain is a man named Lamech. And Lamech sings a song at the end of this passage in Genesis chapter 4. And he's singing a song about himself to his 2 wives. So he's also the first polygamist in the Bible. And his 2 wives' names are Zillah and Adah. And the sons that he has have qualities and skills reflective of the meaning of his wives' names. So Zillah means protection, and you find that one of Lamech's sons was the one that came up with tents and livestock, which was a form of wealth at the time. So another son was musically inclined, and he made musical instruments. And Lamech's wife, Adah, her name means beauty or ornament. And so the arts, the visual arts, the musical arts come from this particular son. And then his 3rd son was known for making weapons out of metal, and so metallurgy, which become weapons and also tools for the means of production. And so Cain's generations produce people in this city that are known for dedication and discipline. And these are good things. Protection is good, security is good, beauty and ornament and the arts are good, tools are good. But there's a character about the people of this city, there's a character about Lamech's generations that is very much not good. When God confronts Cain with the murder of his brother Abel, Cain does not admit to doing it. He says, who am I? I don't know where my brother is. Am I my brother's keeper? All right? He's deflecting. He's deflecting. Lamech, 7 generations from Cain, boasts in his murderous escapades. And so there's a boastful violence and mistreatment of women and polygamy that really defines Cain and his people. All right, there's some good things about this city, and some good things about the people that live in this city, but they are also characterized by bad things, things that are not of God and things that were not good. Arts are used for self-glorification, and to possess things and to be beautiful for your own glory really defines Enoch and his generations in this city. So that's the first city in the Bible. And it's important as we read the Bible, when we come across these kind of firsts, the Bible is wanting us to interpret that as this seems to be a trajectory. All right. Now it's not as paradigmatic or prototypical as Babel, which is the second city that we're going to look at. But this is the first impression that we have as readers of the Bible of what a city is, the city of Enoch. So the second city is the city of Babel out of Genesis 11. Now, between Genesis chapter 6 and Genesis chapter 10, you have the flood and its aftermaths. And so you have a people here now in Genesis 11, and it's just 3 generations. So Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And one of the sons, Ham, was the one that made fun of his dad when he saw him naked after Noah got drunk after planting a vineyard. That's the first thing Noah did when he got off the boat. Okay, so the city of Babel is founded by Nimrod, who was the grandson of Ham. All right, so he's already in this line of people that are not of the promised line that God told man and woman that they would have a child who would defeat the snake and bring life back to creation rather than death. And so Ham is not in that line. And so Nimrod, his grandson, founds the city of Babel. Now, the history and the experience of being in that flood would have been fairly recent memory. So you have a people here that are still characterized as possibly fearful of what nature and creation can do. And so Nimrod also founds the city of Nineveh. Now, from a biblical historical standpoint, Babylon, and Nineveh are these arch enemies of the people of God, of the nation of Israel. So they're founded by this man named Nimrod. Now, at the beginning of the story of the city of Babel, it says, now the whole earth, all of the people. And so you begin to think that, okay, here is everybody in the world. This is the universal human city. This is everybody that is alive coming together. They are all a part of this city. This whole group of people, the whole earth, has the same language and the same speech. Now, this actually means 2 different things. So, same language is, that's clear about what that is. They all had the common, signs and symbols that they could use to communicate. But this idea of the same speech means that not only did they have a common language, they also had a homogeneous culture. Because language is communicated and transmitted, culture is communicated and transmitted through speech. And so basically this is, they all spoke the same language and they all thought the same. Nobody had divergent speech. It wasn't a bunch of diverse opinions. They had a common language and they all had the same ideas about things, okay? So, and we kind of can get the sense of what that would be like because of cultural pressure to think and speak the same. So this is a culture that is already there. Now, the other interesting thing that you see in the text as it unfolds, we're familiar with the story of Babel and the tower that they built to reach the heavens. Okay, they come together as one people in one place, in one language, in one speech, and they want to build a city, and they want to build a tower. They want to build a tower that reaches the heavens. Well, before they build the city, well, actually, not even before they build a city, before they say they want to build a city, and before they say they want to build a tower, the first thing that they say they want to do is make bricks. They don't say, hey, let's build a city and a tower, and for that we're going to need some bricks. They say, let's make bricks. And now that we have bricks, let's make a city and a tower. So already you see in the scriptures here, the trend that we see all the time. The technology comes, and then people wonder, what could we do with this? This is really great. This is why you have scientists and engineers increasingly not taking the decreasing liberal arts programs in our public universities. We just keep creating scientists and engineers without helping them think about the effects of their technology and inventions. And so here you see in Babel that same thing. Hey, let's make some technology, and then we're going to figure out what to do with it. Well, let's make a tower. Let's make a city, first of all. Even though God said, disperse across the earth, they said, no, we're going to gather ourselves together here, and we're going to build a city, and we're going to make a tower that reaches the heavens. And they say, let's make a name for ourselves. Now, that seems like, hey, we want to become famous. Well, to become famous, you have to have a group of people that aren't famous. Because you have to have a group of people that are thinking, they are the famous ones. They are the celebrities. They are the popular ones. Well, it's all one people. It's all one culture. It's all one language. They're not looking necessarily for fame. What they're looking for is a new identity. We want to be a different kind of human. We want to be a human that not only lives on the earth, we want to be a human that lives in the heavens, because they wanted to reach the heavens. And so what we see here in the city of Babel, again, technology in and of itself is okay. Building things is okay. What are the goals of that? And that's what we see here as problematic in the city of Babel. They wanted a new identity, just like man and woman in the garden. Remember when the serpent told man and woman in the garden, God had told them not to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the serpent comes along and says, did God really tell you not to eat of that tree? And the woman says, no, we can eat of that tree. We can eat of all the trees in the garden except this one in particular. And then the serpent says, well, God's lying to you. He knows that when you eat of that tree, you'll be like him. You can be God yourself. And so the people of Babel want to become gods themselves. They don't want to disperse across the land and the earth like God had told them. They want to be identified as a people that master both the earth and the heavens. And so again, now this is the second city in the Bible. So the first city of the Bible, Enoch, doesn't look that great. There's some positive things about it. And the second city in the Bible, Babel, same thing. There's massive problems. God changes the language of the people, and they're no longer able to communicate anymore. And so then they finally disperse throughout the earth. And from that comes the nations. So the conclusions that we can see from these two cities is that the formation of the cities reflect human needs and human aspirations. The need for protection, the need for sustenance, the delight in beauty and the arts, the desire for the advancement of these things, the desire for learning and growth, the desire to learn and grow in the understanding of technology, political organizing, and a desire for unity with each other. Again, we see these things in these two stories, and we can't look at these and say that they are in and of themselves bad things. However, These are the only two cities at this point in the Bible, and they are both outside of the line of the promised child. So like I mentioned earlier, when man and woman ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, their eyes were opened. They knew that they were naked, and they experienced shame. They experienced death. Death came upon them. And God promised woman that she would give birth to a child who would bring life back to humanity and to creation and destroy the serpent who deceived them. And so the rest of the book of Genesis, and this is what we're working on in our Message of the Bible class, the rest of the book of Genesis traces the line of that ancestry to who that child is going to be. And then you get to the nation of Israel at the end of the book of Genesis. And so from the nation of Israel comes eventually Jesus Christ from the line of David, who's from the line of Judah. So, but at this point in the story, both of these cities were founded by people who were not in the line. They're not thinking about the promised child. Whereas you see people in the line like Noah's dad, whose name was also Lamech, different Lamech. He was naming his child not on the basis of what he wanted his city to be. He was basing the name of the child on his hopes and aspirations for this promised child to come that would bring life back to creation and rid them of toil. So you see two different aspirations in this line of people coming from Shem, and a line of people coming from Ham. And a line of people coming from Ham and Cain earlier are these two cities. Now we come to a third city. Jerusalem. Now Jerusalem was originally a stronghold named Zion that the Jebusites held. Okay? So David, when he became king, took over the stronghold. They were making fun of him. They were yelling down from the top of the wall, "Go and get all your lame and your blind people of Zion. You could defend yourselves. You could defend Zion against David and his army." So anyway, David took over the city, the stronghold of Zion, and he named it the city of David, and that is the city of Jerusalem. And a couple chapters later, after it describes the taking over this stronghold, recorded in 2 Samuel chapter 7, God makes these promises to David. "I will raise up offspring after you. I will establish his kingdom." And so this offspring word goes all the way back to this offspring promised woman in Genesis chapter 3. "I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name. I will establish his throne forever." Now, a throne has a place. And God says, "I will appoint a place for my people Israel and will plant them so that they will dwell in their own place and be disturbed no more." So this is the origins of biblical Zionism. The idea that Israel has a place on this planet that God has reserved for them for eternity. And that place is centrally led by the city of Jerusalem. But the earthly Jerusalem did not fulfill God's vision. The story unfolds. Israel is increasingly faithless. And we see in the prophets, the prophet Isaiah referring to Jerusalem as two wicked cities. So in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1, the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. And then 10 verses later, "Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the teaching of our God, you people of Gomorrah." So we didn't cover the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, but Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities. This is also described in the book of Genesis. Two cities that God destroyed because of their wickedness. So now we get to a point where Jerusalem, this third city, is equated with the wicked cities that God destroyed with burning ash and fire and brimstone. And we see later in Isaiah chapter 1 how the faithful city has become a whore, she who was full of justice. Righteousness lodged in her, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross, your best wine mixed with water. Your princes are rebels and companions of thieves. Everyone loves a bribe and runs after gifts. They do not bring justice to the fatherless, and the widow's cause does not come to them. And so that's how Jerusalem ends up. That's how Jerusalem ends up. And when Jesus was in Jerusalem, he was lamenting their rejection of him because he was this promised child. He was the promised king. And he says this in Luke chapter 13, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together as hen gathers her brood under her wings? And you were not willing. Behold, your house is forsaken. And I tell you, you will not see me until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" And so what happens, well, I'll get to that in a moment. Let me read this one. So they reject Jesus, but to fulfill the promises that God gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to man and woman, to bring life back to creation, to all people, and not just the nation of Israel, the gospel of Jesus Christ as King and ruler of the nations of the earth had to go out to all the world. And so at the end of Jesus' ministry, before he ascended, he says this to his apostles: "These are my words that I spoke to you while I was still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must be fulfilled." Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures and said to them, "Thus it is written, that the Christ should suffer and on the third day rise from the dead, and that repentance for the forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning from Jerusalem. You are witnesses of these things, and behold, I am sending the promise of my Father upon you. But stay in the city of Jerusalem, until you are clothed with power from on high." And so from there, the apostles take the gospel to the nations, and they do it by going to strategic cities. So there's a book by Rodney Stark called The Cities of God, and it's a story of how Christianity spread from Jerusalem to the nations through major cities. Now at that time, in the first century, only 10 to 15% of the Roman Empire lived in cities. All right? Very small percentage. But the Holy Spirit still directed the ministry of Paul to go to these cities. To go to these cities. And they go to those cities. The Holy Spirit directed people to go to those cities because cities are where things happen. Cities are where culture is formed. Cities are where the economy, the military, the commerce, everything is happening from the cities. And so even though only 10 to 15% of the population of the Roman Empire lived in cities, the Holy Spirit knew that to influence the rest of the empire, the Holy Spirit started with cities. And so we get ultimately, the gospel spreads, the story of the book of Acts, you go to the end of the book, and we see Paul in the city of Rome, the capital of the world, and the gospel is going out unhindered. And, 2,000 years later, we have a global world where most of the world has received the gospel. Not yet. Most of those who haven't heard the gospel, who have never even met a Christian, who have never heard the name of Jesus, live in the nation of India and around there. But God isn't done with Jerusalem. In 70 AD, the Roman Empire destroyed the city of Jerusalem. But God isn't done with Jerusalem. So we get to Revelation at the very end. So Jesus is coming back. The global empire of power and wealth has been destroyed. It's the new Babylon. So when you read in the book of Revelation about the city of Babylon, it's the global culture of power and wealth. The kings and the merchants lament the destruction of the city of Babylon, which is the culture of power and wealth and greed that we saw characterizing Enoch, and Babel. And so Babylon has been destroyed. Jesus has returned. This is the final word, Revelation chapter 21, that I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. Then I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. If you skip to chapter 22. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb, through the middle of the street of the city. Also on either side of the river, the tree of life with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. No longer will there be anything accursed, but the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in it, and his servants will worship him, and they will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads. His name. So in contrast to the people of Babel that wanted to make a name for themselves, God gives his people a name, and it will be on all of our foreheads. And so, conclusion. So, apprehension of the city is warranted. There is plenty of biblical imagery and references and teachings to show that. And so is delight. Delight in the city is warranted. There is a lot of great things that the city provides. And we should have a passionate vision for the city for at least two reasons. One, just like the Holy Spirit directed the Apostle Paul to cities, it is where most people are at today. So at this point, they estimate about 2/3 of the world's population live in urban centers. Now, that's not necessarily big cities, but it's not rural. Again, it's where culture is shaped. But the whole point of this message tonight, and I think, again, it's different from the two perspectives that dominate, a very positive view of the city and a very negative view of the city. Aside from the Son of God taking the form of a human being for eternity, okay, so, again, Philippians chapter 2. Jesus, who although he existed in the form of God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but taking the form of a servant and taking the form of a human being, he submitted himself to God the Father and became obedient to the point of death. Because he had a mindset. The mindset, Paul says, is this. He thought of others better than himself. And so if you think of Jesus thinking as God, thinking that we as human beings, his creation, are better than him. That's what motivated him to the cross. He thought, being in his nature, we can think that God's nature is a God who is always seeking to squash and squelch fun and to discipline us and to punish us. God's nature, being in the nature God, is to think of others better than himself. So God took the form of a human being. I think that the city is second to this expression of God's grace. So God didn't invent the city. God didn't invent the city. Human beings invented the city. And they did a terrible job at it, the entire biblical story. But what God does here in the vision that he gives us for New Jerusalem, a new city that comes down, because the original creation of God was a garden, and it had a river, and it had a tree of life. It had a river of life, and it had a tree of life. But God didn't just completely wipe out what humanity had created. He could have just taken, the vision could be, hey, we're going back to a beautiful garden. with a beautiful river and a tree of life that provides life to everything. But that's not what God is doing. God is taking something that humans created, and He is redeeming it. He's redeeming it. And I think that is, and if you think about all of the other things, I just couldn't think of something that you see throughout all of the Scripture as something that humans created, not God, but that humans created, that God redeems. I mean, God created work, God redeems work. God created sex, God redeems sex. All these things. But God didn't create a city. Humans did. And it seems like it, to me, it's God, I don't know what the word is, acknowledging, honoring, identifying Himself with something that humans did. Under His power, He gave them creativity, He gave them, minds, He gave them all of these skills, yes, but humans created the city. And we see that what God is doing is redeeming it. And that's why we should love the city. That's why cities matter. Because it matters to God, and it's actually something that God has picked out and says, you know what, I'm going to take this invention of humanity, and I'm going to make it something glorious. Let me pray. Lord God, thank you for this vision of the city, this new Jerusalem. Lord God, we cannot wait until you return, indeed. And God, we confess our times where we are critical of what goes on in our cities. God, I confess it. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. There's a lot of reasons, Lord God, we can be disappointed and frustrated and maybe even angry at what happens in the city. But God, we recognize that we should not be surprised given what we see in your word as what happens in cities and the fate of cities. So God, we pray that you'd give us a vision to see that we can indeed be a city within a city. As a local church, reflecting what it means to be in the kingdom. What does a city in the kingdom look like? God, we just pray that you'd give us a vision to be redemptive. God, that we would think of others as more important than ourselves.